Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.
And Mike, Mad Dog Angus, is waiting in the wings. I will pull him in right now for episode 32. A huge Liverpool fan, although you've got some Progress Wrestling and Wrestle Tours news to open with firstly, haven't you?
Oh, mate. How are you, Stu? Great to see you.
Good. All good, mate. And last minute getting you on as well, so thank you for coming on so last minute. I can
always happy to dive on and chat to you, my friend. Obviously, yeah. Big Liverpool fan here, but yeah, Progress Wrestling. We've just had an amazing show at the weekend. Chapter 172, Werewolves of London. Absolutely brilliant. We had an amazing time at that. And obviously, Wrestle Tours this week. We've got some amazing WrestleMania bar stools still available for Las Vegas next year. So, yeah, obviously letting people know about that. Drop me a message if you're interested. There it is, the 2-suite ticket. So bar stools for night 1 and night 2. Unfortunately, our standing options have completely sold out now. So the standing options flew out, but we do have very limited bar stools available still for WrestleMania. So get in contact, let us know. And we do have, I believe, we've had 2 rooms come available as well. So from the 15th to the 22nd, we've actually got rooms available at the Park MGM. 2 rooms available for 2 people, and we can do that as a package with a bar stool for both nights of WrestleMania. So if you haven't got your trip to Las Vegas sorted yet, now is your chance. Get involved, travel with the Wrestle Tours gang, and come and have an amazing time at WrestleMania. Don't miss out, and don't pay thousands. Come with us instead. We can save you a bit of money. Come and join our gang, and we'll have a great time over there in Las Vegas, Stu.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, you took the guys around Philadelphia this year, didn't you? This year's WrestleMania. You're tour guide extraordinaire. You'll take in all the sites, won't you? You've been to Vegas yourself before, so you know the score with Vegas. So yeah, I implore you guys, if you're into your pro wrestling and you've been mulling over wanting to go to WrestleMania for many, many years, get it booked with Wrestle Tours. You'll have Mike with you. You'll have all the gang with you as well. And yeah, fantastic options there for wrestling fans, isn't it, Mike? Because I didn't do packages years ago when I did it. I wish I had them,
That's it, Stu, yeah. And some of your gang, we saw them over there last year and at AEW, bump into your crew all about the place, Stu. So, yeah, get them involved, get them to come along with us. They'll have an amazing time. We've got some of our favourite Wrestle Tours family are travelling with us this time. Obviously, Tinky Winky's getting involved, the guys from the HWO, and I believe Wrestling with Jonas is coming with us this year as well. So, an amazing bunch, Stu. And I know one year we'll get you over with us. When you're not so busy with all your different, things you've got to sort out. A lot of commitments for you.
Going to be amazing. Again, 2 nights. The stadium there as well is amazing from what I've seen on TV. But I think you have to go to these stadiums, don't you, Mike, to really, really soak it in. Like you went to SoFi a couple of years ago. Well,
that was crazy.
They're so good, these new stadiums, aren't they? State of the art, amazing. It's just everything, isn't it, about going over there for it? There's just so much to do.
Oh, it's just so exciting as well. And, last year we did the run up the Rocky Steps, and we went to WrestleCon, we went to the Liberty Bell. We did all the touristy attractions. And when we were in LA the year before, the SoFi Stadium, as you said, was amazing. But the suites we had both years have been absolutely class. And then when I was last in Vegas, they were building this stadium that we're going to. Yeah, it was great to see it getting built. And then and I said, that'll be perfect for WrestleMania. And lo and behold, WrestleMania 41 next April. We've got the opportunity to go there, and it's going to be, amazing. I'm looking forward to it already. It's just going to be class. And very limited spaces left now, Stu. So if anyone wants to get involved, tell them just to drop me a message anytime this week. I'll get back in touch with them, and we'll make sure we get that sorted out for them to join us. And I know there's a lot of people interested already. So, I think they'll be gone by the end of next week, I would say, definitely.
Please, act quickly. If you're mulling it over, and you're being a bit, oh, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? I implore you to do it. And as Mike says, there's a lot of interest for these remaining seats and getting obviously onto the packages. So yeah, mega next year, 2 nights of WrestleMania. It's going to be amazing. Now, Mike, you are sporting a Liverpool hoodie there, jacket. So
this is retro, this.
There you go, candy there. Man having a candy fridge back in the day. They did a
proper Scouse top, this one.
Now, your memories of Liverpool, now I've got images to support this, and you said you wanted to speak about Gerard Houllier, RIP, of course. He passed away a fair few years ago now, but yeah, and the treble. He won the UEFA Cup there, the Worthington Cup, the League Cup, of course, and the FA Cup in one season. So your memories of that, and he was a fantastic manager, wasn't he?
Oh, brilliant. That was one of my favourite seasons because it was must have been when I was about 15 or 16 and was really, proper getting into me footy, watching all the matches, and we had a really successful, exciting season. It was when Michael Owen was coming through, and we had the FA Cup against Arsenal that season, and of course the UEFA Cup was against Alaves, wasn't it? With you remember that one, the 5-4. So that was a wild season, but it was really an exciting time to be a Liverpool fan. We had that almost it was almost a pink strip when you saw it on TV. But
I remember it as well because it was at Dortmund Stadium, that final. It was at the Westfalen Stadium, that game, and 5-4. And Jordi Cruyff was playing for Alaves.
Yeah.
I can remember him playing for him. What a game! What a match that was! Even for me, being a Blue Nose, when the English teams are in the final, I want them to do it. I'm not against Liverpool in that respect. They got to the final, wanted to see them do it. Some people might not like me saying that, but that's the case. But yeah,
dramatic fashion that year, Stu, for sure.
I mean, you were up against it against Arsenal in that final as well. But
yeah.
That goal by Michael Owen, fantastic.
It's so memorable. And that kit they had as well was very Halloweeny as well. Perfect for the theming today. But I'll tell you a funny story actually, Stu. I've always got a good story for you, haven't I? But when they did the title celebration, the celebration for winning them 3 cups, they did a bus through Liverpool city centre. And at the time, I was doing a bit of running and stuff. And I tell you what, I chased that bus to get a few snaps, a few photographs. I'll have to send them over to you to have a look at. But literally, I chased after that bus that had won the cups through the city centre of Liverpool along the Strand and up as it headed out of town. And Michael Owen and some of the players had spotted me following the coach and were just laughing their heads off, pointing at me. Come on, the lads.
giving it toes mate. That day, trying to keep up, Mike.
Got a great few photos of them.
What were your thoughts when him and Roy Evans job shared initially?
Yeah, interesting.
That was unheard of, really. And I think it was only a matter of time that it'd be one of them who would take the job, and it was obviously going to be Houllier. But people were questioning that at the time. I can remember they job shared, didn't they, for quite a bit.
Yeah, Roy was absolute legend, but it was coming towards the end of his tenure, and they brought Gerard in, and they did, what I think was, there might have been some politics back of house or whatever, but it seemed like an interesting thing to do and give them a chance to work together and sort of introduce Gerard to the club and how things were going to be going and stuff. And I think it's an interesting way of doing things. Obviously, you've got to think you're paying 2 people's wages at the time, but it's if that brings in a manager and gets them set for success, then that could be obviously, I've not really seen anyone else do that since, as far as I can remember. So obviously, it didn't necessarily work, but for that, an interesting way of doing things.
I can remember
it was nice.
I can remember the Swedish national job being job shared probably about a decade ago or so. I can remember there was 2 of them, so it happened at international level as well. But crazy. But Roy Evans, he was synonymous with the club for years. He coached for years, didn't he? So you can kind of understand they wanted to give him a go, and it does make sense because he was a one club man, wasn't he?
That's it, exactly. Started in the boot room back in the day, and then worked his way right the way up. But I'm just thinking I'm sure you'll probably we're going to ask this in a minute anyway, but just thinking back to the first game I went to, because when I was really little, I wasn't that interested in footy. But I remember when I was about probably when I was about 10 or 11, I got into it a bit more around Euro 96. And I went to, I think I went to my first game just a bit before that at Anfield with my Uncle Al and my dad and my brother, and went to see, it was Liverpool versus Wimbledon was the first game I went to at Anfield. And if I remember correctly, it was back in the proper, oh, here we go, yeah, the proper crazy gang days with when they were all Dean Oldsworth and Vinnie Jones all going off their heads. So I think it was 2-2, if I'm not mistaken, Stu. I'm sure we could find the result. I'm trying to think when it was. Must have been about May 95, 96, maybe, been the Premier League match. So yeah, I remember that being an interesting experience, sitting in the Kop, and it was everyone was standing up. So as a kid, it was just chaos in there, but loved it.
There you can see, I can see Dean Holdsworth there, who obviously played up front for Wimbledon. The crazy gang, man, the shenanigans before the game. You've heard all sorts of stuff, how they used to intimidate the opposition before a ball had been kicked. There was all sorts of stuff going on. And Vinnie Jones, obviously, he was at the centre of it all, wasn't he, for so many years, Mike?
Yeah, I tell you what, I saw the Vinny appears in all sorts of things, but I bumped into him in. I went to see the Condemned premiere at WrestleMania 23 in Detroit, and obviously he was in that, wasn't he, with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Austin was out at the end of the movie having a beer. So Vinny's recently been in Only Fools and Horses, the musical, down at the West End in London. So I popped along to see that a few months back. It was before he was in it, but that's worth going to see, Stu, if you haven't seen it. Very true to form of the stories and everything.
Paul Whitehouse is heavily involved in that, isn't he, down in London, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, but the night I went, it was Les Dennis in it.
Oh, right, okay.
Playing Paul Whitehouse's role, and he was brilliant as well. So, he plays Grandpa, obviously, and then, I won't say any more than that, but there might be a bit of a surprise in it.
I've got one here from, obviously, the FA Cup final in 1988, just keeping with the crazy gang theme, and you being a Liverpool fan there. So, again, Wimbledon came through this one and won. They won the FA Cup, didn't they? They were underdogs.
I don't want to see that one, Stu.
I just threw it in there, Mike.
You had to get your little dig in, didn't you?
But yeah, they were amazing at the time. But again, you wouldn't get away with the stuff on the pitch these days, would you? Some of the stuff that used to go on. It's crazy. You watch it back.
Crazy.
Oh my days! Like Dennis Wise doing things he shouldn't have been doing. It was to get the edge, wasn't it? And it worked very well for them for many years, didn't it?
That's what Ipswich need to start doing now, I think, because they've looked good in games this season. But if they had a bit of crazy gang mentality, they'd pick up a few more red cards.
They've drawn 4 out of 5 and lost 5. Ipswich. You wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't believe it. It's you can turn them into 1 or 2 wins, them draws. They're up the table, but. They just can't buy a win. They can't buy a win at the moment. They just can't do it.
Played us first game of the season. Looked good. And there's Lewis. Lewis, hope you're well. Saw Lewis up in Scotland, if I'm not mistaken, a little while back. So I hope he's well.
Lewis, thank you for tuning in as always. And if you've got any questions or anything football related, mate, pump them in, or wrestling related. Got anything to ask Mike about progress, wrestle tours, or anything like that, please put your comments in, mate. And I say thank you for tuning in again, mate. We appreciate you. And moving on, you wanted to talk about a player back, 15, 20 years ago now, a bit longer. Danny Murphy, of all people. And I think the stat was, if he scored, you beat United. That was a stat for a lot of games during that time. So I've got a visual here. And you wanted to speak about Danny Murphy and obviously against United putting goals in.
Yeah, that's the game I was at. That's what I wanted to talk about. Well done, Stu. You've done really well. I think there was a couple of seasons where my granddad used to be good friends with the groundskeeper of Old Trafford. So me and my brother would go and see Liverpool versus Man United every season. We went for 3 years. And we were at this particular game, but I think if I remember correctly, both years we won, and both times it was 1-0 to us, and Danny Murphy scored. And I was sitting there, I had to sit with the Man United fans, obviously. So it was like the Snickers advert where there's, one guy in the crowd cheering. It's me and my little brother. And it was just a bit mad. But I think it was that specific game you've put the image up of there when Fabian Barthez and Raymond van der Houw, I think, was United's second keeper, and they were passing the ball across the pitch. I was sitting at that end where that goal scored, and I was literally where he's taken that free kick from. I was on the left-hand side from there, so I had a really good view as well. But basically, when they were before the game, the two keepers were passing the ball across field to each other, practicing the goal kick, Stu. And Bartes put one through the seat next to my little brother. Literally put the seat through completely, destroyed it. And the staff came and just literally came and put a new seat on in about 30 seconds there at Old Trafford. So very organised, and must have been ready for Bartes. Must have been trying to take people out in the crowd that day.
I've got another one as well, a bit more. It'd be after that first one, I think, judging by the kit. And again, he scored again, and that was the stat. You weren't every single time for like a long period where he was playing or he scored. It was one or the other. What a stat. And, United being the way they were, especially at Old Trafford, not many teams went there and got wins, did they?
That was it, yeah. And I was lucky enough to be at all them matches. So, yeah, it was just interesting as well. I think the stat is, if the Mad Dog's there and Danny Murphy's there, Liverpool wins. So
double trouble.
We've never been in the same room again since.
Amazing. And I think just a bit of current, just talking about what's going on now. Slot has had a superb start, hasn't he? He's been absolutely brilliant. Bar losing to Forest, they've come out of that, and he's won every single game. Bar Forest, what's a start? And they're playing a bit differently in some respects. I know it's still Klopp's players, but you can see the patterns of play and stuff. He is implementing different ways, isn't he? From what I can see on the outside looking in.
Yeah, they look very well drilled, as you said, Stu. And that Forest one was a real anomaly. It was. It just looked like every now and again you work people so hard, but just every now and again they hit a bit of a brick wall and run into a team who've got that goal in them, and then it just looked like the ideas just weren't there on that day. Everyone has a bad day, but I think they've shown that they've got back on the bike and doing really well, and exciting play. Some of the players who we've even had a few injuries and they're still looking good. So, I've enjoyed watching us. It'll be really interesting to see. I know you're going to go on to this in a moment, but it'd be really interesting to see what sort of squad rotation there is this evening for Brighton, because Brighton are a tough team and are, quite exciting to watch. But obviously, you don't want to go out the cup, but as well, you are going to want to rotate the squad a bit for the big game against Brighton coming up at the weekend.
It's mad. Like that Herzl has come in. De Serbi went on to Marseille. What a start! I can't get over the fact he's 31. I know if you're good enough, you're old enough to be a manager. I'm not disputing that. That's just
only a year older than me and you, mate?
But he did so well at St. Pauli in Germany, and then they took a punt on him. And early into the season, we're about a quarter of the way through, aren't we? A very good start. I would say Forest and Brighton have been surprising. They've been the two surprise teams for me. Forest are going great guns at the moment. They're really good. I think they might be on close to 2 points a game, Forest, considering they had the points deduction like Everton last season. It seems to be going really, really well for Nuno Espirito Santo at the moment.
Yeah, I've only had a chance, talking about Everton, I've only had a chance to watch one game of Everton this season. Obviously, yourself and my best friend's an Everton fan as well, and a few of my family as well. But obviously, I was at my uncle's a couple of months back for Match of the Day, and it was actually, and he said, "I'm going to bed. I'm not watching Match of the Day with you," because he'd seen his scoreline already, and it was when you lost to Brentford 3-2 and you'd been 2-0 up. But that was also the day that Liverpool lost to Nottingham Forest, so I'd avoided the scores all day because I've been working. Buzzing about watching Match of the Day, saw Everton lose, was like, bloody hell, my uncle hadn't even bothered watching it, and then he thought we'd won, so he's left me up to watch it and have a bit of a celebrate, and then we lost as well. I was like, what a rubbish day of football.
Honest to God, and I tell you what, we were like the precursor with 2 goals up in games, and then other teams have gone on to do the same.
Yeah.
Spurs threw a 2-goal lead against Brighton, funnily enough. Lost 3-2. It happened on the weekend as well.
I think it was at the weekend, wasn't it? They had a wild result. And
Ipswich being 2 up, and I know they had a man sent off. They ended up losing 4-3. Teams can't seem to hold a lead. But we've come out of that 4 losses in a row in the league and 1 in the League Cup. And Dyche has took 9 points from the last 5.
Yeah,
You know,
they've done
we
very
were
well.
in dire straits. We were in dire straits, Mike. I was panicking. We're still down there. Don't get me wrong. You know, we're not out.
There's a few teams who are really struggling, but I watched your match against Newcastle. It was a couple of weekends ago, and Newcastle looked pretty decent in that one, but Everton held on, and it was it was a decent enough scrap for you. But I think you've still got more tough matches to go, but I don't think there'll be as much trouble as it looked like in the first couple of weeks for you, Stu, to be fair.
We've got a special person in the background here, actually. He's going to pop in and he's going to do the segment that I was going to do, but it's his. Here he is, my co-host and cousin. It's Chris Hugh.
Yes, Chris. Great to see you again.
And to you, Mike. Nice to you.
Been a while, mate.
I'm all right. Just getting the head down and, trying to become a lawman. But,
amazing. Oh, good on you. And your hair's looking good, mate. Nearly as long as mine now.
I know. Going for it.
It's just safely out the way, mine, you know.
My mum said to me the other day I look like a hippie. I was like, oh well, never mind. How, like, you were talking about Everton just a minute ago. Just wanted to obviously put my 10 pence in. Do you feel like once obviously the Frequins take over, I'd imagine it'd be the end of November now, maybe December-ish time. Do you feel like Sean Dyche stays to the end of the season because obviously his contract's up in the summer, or do you think like the Frequins will come in and completely change the whole backline of Everton?
I personally would keep Dyche in. I think if I was an Everton fan, I'd want to keep him in. I think he's done well on a bit of a shoestring budget, hasn't he, for you? And he did so well at Burnley. I was in Burnley last season or the season before? I went up to see Burnley versus Aston Villa, and it was after Dyche had left. And there's a pub named after him. There's people with tattoos of him and stuff. I think if I was an Everton fan, I think I'd get behind the guy, knowing that they're going to get a bit of money in, maybe, and really see what he can do when he's not on the back foot instead, and give him a chance. But it'll be interesting to see if they've got loads of money. They might want to spend big and bring in, someone else. But whether he'll do any better with the players than Dyche has done, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I'm not one to get a Dyche face stuck on my body, unfortunately.
Not when you've got a Grogu on you.
Yeah, you've got to love a bit of Grogu. I kind of agree and disagree with you, Mike. I'm more of a I accept what he's done for us over the horror period of Mashiri and when Ken Wright was alive and all the animosity that was going on at Everton, regards to the backroom staff and the disorganization and the frantic sort of ongoings that sort of impacted the pitch and the players. But I also look at the style of football and, I look at the negativity, the substitutions are bad. I think sometimes, actually more than sometimes now, I think he tactically gets it wrong. I think against Fulham last Saturday, I think he got it completely wrong. I just think that he's stuck in his own ways. And I said this to Stuart in previous episodes. I think managers like Dyche, Allardyce, I don't even think say Rafa Benitez now, because they're kind of similar in the ways they do things, defensive-minded managers. I think that's in the past now. I think those sort of managers, when it comes to like the elite leagues, the Premier Leagues, the Serie A, the La Ligas, you've got to be a bit more pragmatic. I'm not saying do the Genga press or, you follow Pep's style, but I think that sort of image of a manager and that style is more suited to this game, this day and age now, where I think you'd look at Dyche and think more of a dinosaur tactics now. And I'm not personally saying that, but if you're looking at the modern game and how managers work, set their team up now, his style, as much as it's a pain in the arse to play against, I feel like sometimes it's just too negative when it could be a bit more positive with the players we have got who can use the space, make things easier for Calvert-Lewin when he has got shooting boots on, not his bananas.
Who'd you bring in yourself, Chris?
See, I don't know, because obviously people saying Jose Mourinho, and I wouldn't say no to Jose Mourinho. He is a winner, and I think Man United, though he did win Europa League with United, didn't win the league, which is one of them. But you look at where United are now, and you can see why. I wouldn't say no to Jose. I think he'd come in and I think he'd rattle a few feathers which I think we need a manager to do so. Dyche has done it per se, but I think he's too much with his favourites. When you look at like Michael Keane, I know Michael Keane's been okay the last couple of games, and I won't knock him.
That goal he scored was good.
Yeah, he should be playing up front, really. He should be playing instead of Calvert-Lewin, and we'll swap them around. I think he might score more goals than him. I don't know. We need a manager that's got a plan, a 5-year plan.
Mourinho is a class act, you know. He made so many seasons a pain in the ass when he was at Chelsea for us parking that bus, and even I saw him. Obviously, he's been to the wrestling a few times with his kids and had a bit of banter on the wrestling. And he's one of my favourite moments of him was at I went to that Soccer Aid match where was it Ollie Mers was running up the wing and he was the manager and he came on and snapped him. That won me over.
I just think with him,
Ollie Mers in the charity match when they're the manager, that's class. That
I think the game's moved on from Mourinho and the style of play. I would say that, but again, it's what, like Chris said, it's what he's done previously. But I don't know. It's hard. It's going to be hard. But again, I think Friedkin's going to have no bollocks. Basically, look, he's got rid of De Rossi, and then Roma got smashed on the weekend. Anyway, they lost to Fiorentina. They got absolutely hammered. But he will get rid of people by the looks of things.
They're looking to sell now. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah.
They're looking to move Roma on now to some. I think because I said to you before, and when I was on the Unholy, they said about Saudi people looking at Roma. So obviously they sell Roma, move to Everton, and then find another team for their portfolio. Because I think they've got Khan, haven't they, in France as well?
I think that'd be more beneficial for Everton as well. That we'd be like the top team that they've got, and they can focus more on us and get us where they need to be. So I'm not opposed to them selling up with Roma if that's the case. You know, if we're on the portfolio, you want to be the top side on the portfolio, don't you? We want all their eggs in our basket, I think, to begin with, just to get it where it needs to be. But the new stadium as well, isn't it?
The ideas they've come up with recent days, Stuart, it's excited me. You know, they've agreed that why isn't it 60,000? And I think I agree, it shouldn't be 52. Michael know from, being a Liverpool fan in that area, that both clubs could easily fill 60 and above in their own respective grounds.
It's still tough to get tickets at Liverpool, honestly. It's like, unless you're, someone who's got tickets, it's difficult, I think, to get tickets. There's
we've got Norwegians,
though, Mike. Match coming up next week, Aston Villa. I was like, tickets? Nope.
It's those Norwegians. You got to stop them coming off the boat. Oh,
mate, that's great for tourism for Liverpool, though.
I do think, like, if they can come in and obviously I am assuming that Bramley Moors is the selling point for Everton because there isn't anything else, because we are stripped bare, aren't we? Completely stripped bare. And if they got these grand ideas for around Bramley Moor with hotels and everything else that's going along with Bramley Moor, it's exciting and it's more refreshing to look at the building things, to help Everton financially, but not just throwing anything anywhere. It's exciting to see, and obviously, I think it'll probably be more next season where we go somewhere.
Absolutely, and obviously they're taking the other dock as well, aren't they? As you say, just alluding to what you're saying, to build hotels and stuff. So they've got that other dock as well, so it's going to be fantastic. Chris, I want to move us on just to your segment on this day in football history, which you've selected. I'm glad you're here to do it as well.
Yeah.
Give it the rub, do it justice, and of course you can see in the text there who you're going to talk about.
Well, it's like, if you don't know who this person is, then I think you need a tap on the head. We're talking about Diego Maradona. And some people, obviously, who are English might remember what he did in the World Cup one time. Forgot, obviously, he was a striker and used his hand. But if you take away what he did in the World Cup and you take away his lifestyle outside of football, because we all know he had a really, 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 really busy lifestyle with certain things, didn't he, that we can't really say on this podcast. But as a footballer, I don't think you get much better than the silky skills of Maradona, the audacity to beat multiple players and do it with ease, but also with finesse. You look at the clubs he's played for there on the screen. Obviously, Napoli are the club that cherish Maradona the most. As you see at their ground is called with, I can't remember what it's something with Maradona. I'm not good with Italian words myself, but you know what he did for football. If we just take his football, you know, as the point in conversation here, and we ignore what he did in his lifestyle. Who else could you say was better than Maradona in his peak? There wasn't anybody. There wasn't anybody that could do what he could do with a football, and he manipulated the football. And you know, you look at like certain wingers that we have now, and the Messis, and you could say Ronaldo, but I think Ronaldo is very different. We could probably say Messi and Maradona, obviously both being from South America and Argentina, they have very similar styles. But I still think Maradona did it best.
He was,
what do you guys think?
A hybrid. He was ahead of his time. It was that low centre of gravity. And the second goal against England, let's take the hand of God out of the equation here. When he beat all them players, Peter Reid being one of them, and he just skinned a lot of them and put it away. It was like, two totally different types of goal. That was his style in the second goal. That just encapsulated him, didn't it? It was just amazing. They couldn't stop him, and he would have had a longer career had the outside stuff not. Yeah. I know that's a story for a different day. We don't want to allude to that too much, because what he did on the football pitch when he was on it was incredible. What are your thoughts on Maradona and memories of Maradona, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely amazing player. But I think the only person who sort of came close to replicating anything he did, I thought Gascoigne was had a few little bits about him, back in the day. And, I was lucky enough to meet Paul, and, he's had some off the field bits and bobs as well, as you alluded to. But, Maradona, just sheer class and, brilliant player. But not a fan of that hand of God, though, still, guys.
How we got away with it, it's just beggars belief. It's so clear. It's so clear.
Hang on. We're just checking the VAR.
The goal.
Yeah, he's punched it.
They probably still give it now, though, if I'm honest.
Yeah, ball to hand.
Yeah. No, he didn't mean it. It come off his head onto his hand and then went over.
Stuart Atwell at VAR's just check.
Come a look through. Just going through to Stotley Park now. I'm not sure.
Doing the lines.
But again, it just look at all the players that have come through. It would have been, beloved him. Aguero, I knew was an out-and-out striker. I know it's his son-in-law, of course. Aguero had that low centre of gravity, didn't he? I know different types of player, but linked because of Argentina and stuff like that. He was. I mean, look at them in the World Cup a couple of years ago as well. They weren't favourites. They lost to Saudi Arabia. They've always had that, haven't they, Argentina? For a small country, what they've managed to do in big tournaments. Going back to Maradona, of course, it's quite amazing for the size of the country, the population.
The players that they've produced over the years, I think Brazil are probably the only other country that can probably, can say they maintain that the style and the quality of different types of players that have come out of their country. I think, the Germans, Italy, I think, small portion of British players, but I think the Argentinians and the Brazilians, and especially in South America, there's something special about them. Yeah, okay, not everyone likes showboating, but I embrace that because that's just the copper sort of style, isn't it? That it's what embraces you and brings you in. But you look at the players that both countries and their legends and their icons have influenced the whole of Europe. It's unbelievable. But really, nothing from Europe really is inspired that way. They've always had their own style, the old samba sort of play, and over the years it's gotten better or it's slowed down. But it's always been a maintain of someone who's coming out of one of those countries that every club who's got the money is chasing. And you've seen that with Enric going to Real Madrid, Victor Roque has gone to Barcelona, and Esteve, I can't think I'm pronouncing his name right, and I apologise, 16-year-old from Brazil who's just signed for Chelsea for a bit of money. And he's, like I say, he's only 16, and he's the next big thing to come out of Brazil. You look at Alvarez, who's just gone to Atletico Madrid, and he was at Man City. There's so many of these players that are coming out, and they're so exciting. it's great to watch and great to see, you know what I mean? And it makes Football Manager a fantastic game once you find them all. But then you follow them through in real life then, and you know, you get to see if they are actually going to be as world class as the game says, and it's, you know, it's exciting stuff. And yeah, I love the South Americans, and I think what they bring to football is something that you can't replicate.
One iconic thing that he did when he was playing for Napoli, and they were at the old Munich Stadium, so the Olympic Stadium, and it must have been before a European Cup game against Bayern, and he had a golf ball. It's iconic, you've probably seen it, and he's doing the old, you know, he's doing the keepy uppies with the golf ball, and his shoelaces are untied, and it was just effortless, and that's him just, you know, before kickoff and all that, and everyone just must have been captivated by it. He's got the golf ball, and he's just the control, low center of gravity, but it's his, you see his laces are undone. Anybody else would be on the deck. Do you know what I mean? It was just, he just encapsulated that time, and yeah, there'll never be another Maradona. There'll never be another Maradona. Not even close. Not even close. And just imagine he was around now.
As a younger player,
this style of football now, you know, playing the high line and things like that, he'd be in. He would have scored a lot more goals, I think, in modern times.
You saw him obviously after his career finished, didn't we? He was always watching Argentina, and he was always at, you know, the World Cups, and we always saw him in the stands, whatever situation his head was at the time. But he was still passionate about football. He still loved it. You know what I mean? You could see him, you know, it was the roar of his face watching, you know, his country, you know, and he was lucky enough to manage Argentina, wasn't he, as well? I think he did 2 years with Argentina. He did one World Cup with them. Didn't go to plan, obviously, but there was obviously a lot of things going on with him in his personal life, you know, as well as being a manager. I obviously, besides his personal life as a football player, as you say, Stuart, you don't get any player, as Micah said as well, you don't get anywhere close to Maradona. There's players you can say, you know, similar, do similar things, but as a player, icon isn't even big enough as a phrase for this kind of player. You need like some special word for this kind of player.
I think leaving a legacy,
lads, haven't they? Like you said, people like Batistuta though, and you know, Mascherano, Tevez, even Aguero, as you mentioned, that they've had some cracking players come through, and we've got obviously McAllister at Liverpool at the moment, who's been absolutely solid for us. He's been a great player. He's maybe not got quite the flair of your Maradona, but you know, just every now and again, you see, you know, little spots of it. Like, but yeah, he's they've brought some great players over from Argentina.
Absolutely. So yeah, the great Diego Armando Maradona, who would have turned 64, of course, today. This would have been his 64th birthday. So yeah, thanks for that, Chris. Thank you very, very much. Moving on to the latest news, though, with the biggest story is obviously Ten Hag finally was sent packing after Man United just haven't been able to get it going with him, have they? And I think I was speaking to a lot of United fans. I said he was given the due grace drawing them Europa League games. They never mattered. It was what was happening in the league. You know, it's just it was only a matter of time. They can't be down in the bottom half where they are. So I knew, although the West Ham should have had that penalty the other day, don't get me wrong, I think he was going. It was whenever he was going to lose, Ten Hag was out. But Ruben Amorim of Sporting Lisbon, of course, they're in talks at the moment. They reckon a release clause has been met as well. What do you think about Ruben Amorim coming in? Because it's looking like that. They're in Portugal today. Man United's representatives, obviously, because they want to do a backroom staff reshuffle, get all his personnel in. So, yeah, Ruben Amorim, it looks like it's going to take over at Manchester United. Ruud van Nistelrooy is obviously in caretaker charge as things stand. So, yeah, what do you think, Mike, with Ruben Amorim coming in and obviously Man United just where they are at the moment in the league?
I think it'll be interesting times for them, but I'm not sure if it's the manager or the players who's the issue. And you know,
I completely agree.
The fans there absolutely, you know, expect so much, and you know, it's a mindset that's been going on for a few years, I feel. But you know, Ten Hag, they have been disappointing under him. There's been times when they've played really well. They absolutely shafted us last season, didn't they? With that match, it was when I was in Philadelphia for WrestleMania. It was Man United versus Liverpool, and I think we drew 2-2 with them, and then from then on in, it was like, and we weren't going to win the league basically after that matchup. But yeah, they've had the moments. They've got some exciting players. I've chatted to a few. I was at a wedding at the weekend, and a couple of Man United fans were chatting about the play and stuff. And but they've wanted him out for a little while. The fans, from what I could hear, so at least they've been listened to by the club. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, Amorim. But I think I'm surprised they haven't given Van Nistelrooy a bit of a go at the reins and thought maybe until Christmas just see how he gets on, because I feel like the fans would be behind him from his performances for them in the past, and give the guy a chance while he's there. And if he messes up, then at least it'll give the rest of us enjoyment.
Absolutely, and that segues perfectly. I was on to Jimmy Farrow of Monty and the Pharaoh Wrestling podcast. Jimmy is a huge Man United fan. Actually, an American who actually knows his football, believe it or not. And he called me yesterday, and I took a little
soccer.
I took a little.
Don't you dare say that on this podcast.
I took a little segment out of it because obviously you're alluding to Ruud van Nistelrooy taking it, who I thought was going to get the job. So here's Jimmy Farrow, big Man United fan, talking about obviously Ruud van Nistelrooy coming in. He doesn't want Amorim.
And who is he a legend for as a player, by the way? Just leave him there. Just leave him there and let him do it. He knows what works and what doesn't. Just leave him there and let him do his thing and stay out of the way. Can't these owners do that? I mean, I'm watching my New York Jets, the ultimate train wreck in any professional franchise. I challenge you to find somebody who shoots themselves in the foot and the arse more than the New York Jets. It's ownership. Get out of the way. Let somebody come in with a proven track record, or at least someone who knows how the organization ran when it was successful. In the Jets' case, never. But in Ruud's case, he knows. He knows. Leave him alone. Let him do it. Anyway, rant over.
So there we have it. Yeah, Jimmy, very passionate there. Talking about the New York Jets in the NFL, of course, because they've not won in years. Obviously, so he gets when stuff's not going right. But in relation to Man United, of course, I can understand where he's coming from. Mike, you've said about Ruud van Nistelrooy. I felt, give Ruud, 5 or 6 games maybe. Use it as a job interview. See how he gets on. He knows the club, as Jimmy says. A lot of the times that does work. But we know previous club legends going into management, it doesn't always correlate, does it? But Ruud's had his time at PSV as well. He's ran a club, hasn't he, as a manager coach. Me and Chris know very well about that because Jared Bramthwaite was on loan. He's got experience in European games. I know Ten Hag did with Ajax, getting into the semi-finals years ago in the Champions League. But I would have gone with Ruud, lads. I'm with Jimmy and what Mike was saying.
They might be building him up, giving him a bit longer yet. They might just want to not throw him under the bus. If they do think the team are not performing and are not going to perform, then bring someone else in and let them see how they get on, have a big reshuffle, and then sort of protect Ruud a little bit, because if they think he's not ready, you just don't want to throw him in on a season when you're already doing bad. Give him a fresh start next season or the season after, if this other guy isn't up to scratch. But they probably don't want to throw him under the bus, do they, is what it is.
I also think the whole Solskjaer experience burnt them a bit, didn't it? And I think that, Solskjaer, like Ruud van Nistelrooy, are legends at the club. And I also think that, these sort of players, managers at the time, obviously give them a lift because they were heroes. And, it does give a club a lift. I remember when Duncan Ferguson, the first time, did a caretaker job for us. And, you saw the result against Chelsea. You saw the performance. It gave us an absolute boost and we loved it. Duncan is an absolute legend at Everton. But I wouldn't give him the job. And I'll say this out of the most respectfulness, because Stuart and our heroes is Duncan, but some managers aren't ready yet, and I think some managers are too passionate about that one club that can cloud judgment. And also, I think at this point in time for Man United, they need a clear manager that has, as like I've said to what I want for Everton, that has a set plan, has an idea, has been in Europe, knows players, and can, get them back on the right track very quickly. You can all well and good put Ruud in, and I think, he'll do a decent job. but United need someone that's got the experience already and ready to go now. And I think Ruben, you know, I mean, you only have to watch Sporting versus Arsenal, and you'll see his style of play, and what they're like, and what he brings to the table. And you know, I mean, he's a young manager also. Don't forget now, and I think this is the way forward. Is that we find these young managers that've got, you know, ideas, but you know, they've got the future ahead of them. And you see Brighton now with I can't remember his name now, Stuart, the ex St. Pauli manager,
Fabian Hertzler.
Yeah, and you see him now when everyone was a bit oof when they hired him. But we obviously know with Brighton is they already think 10 years ahead of everybody else. You know, with players now, obviously with the manager, it's finding the right person for the job. You can't look at, you know, the managers they've had previously, and they've all had mad fantastic managerial careers. You know, Ajax for Ten Hag, you know, Louis van Gaal had a magnificent managerial career. Jose Mourinho. How have all three managers that have won practically, you know, a lot of trophies in their time and at different clubs, maybe bar Ten Hag, because I think more or less it's Ajax before United. How can all these managers come to United and completely be destroyed? And I go to what you said, Mike. Is it the players? Or is there something going on in the back of Man United that are getting too much involved that's causing the rift? That United, you know, just obviously are taking a step back when I'm talking about the players now, where they don't want a manager. And we've seen this with Chelsea over the years. When they want someone out, they just drop their tools, don't they? Or down their tools would be the phrase. It's dangerous territory. I think, you know, you have to get this one right now.
Thing is, right, does Rude stay on as a coach? Because obviously they're looking at his back room at Sporting Lisbon now. What does Rude do off the back of this? He's not long been there. I know things change and you go and get another job, what have you. Unless he says to him, you know, I want you in the same role. Is Rude going to particularly want to stay there? That would be one thing I'm taking away from it. And also, how long's Ruben Amorim going to actually get? You know, until if it doesn't work out, and they're going to get on his back, aren't they? If it doesn't work out, I don't know. I don't know. But Amorim was obviously touted with Liverpool during the summer when Xabi Alonso wouldn't come. So it's a name, isn't it? It's a name that's been bandied around. It's uncertainty. I find that's what I'm taking away from this. And you know, cups aren't going to cut the mustard with United's fan base. Because look at Ten Hag. You know, he got the due grace, didn't he? Winning the League Cup, winning the FA Cup. It gave him a bit longer, didn't it? But they don't. They want Premier Leagues and they want Champions Leagues. That's what they want. That's what they're accustomed to.
They're too far behind now, Stuart. They're too far behind. The likes of City, Liverpool, and most definitely now Arsenal. And I think Chelsea wants Enzo's got his grasp in it, and I think it's starting to work for Enzo. I think United are too far behind the top three at the moment because everything is perfect for them. They've got everything right, and there's no problems with anything going on behind them, which is causing any hassle. Slot is literally slotted in Liverpool. Yeah, there you go. I threw that one in there. But he's done it perfectly. He has done it perfectly. And Pep, obviously, we already know about Pep, so I don't really need to say much about that. You know, Mikel Arteta had a dodgy first season at Arsenal. Once he got what he wanted, look how good Arsenal's become now. United have just gone back and back and back. Yeah, they've won the odd game here and there against the top three, but they're so far behind the running of the top three of teams now in the Premier League. I think they need to sort of step back and realize that this is where they are now, and we're going to have to rebuild ourselves to reach the top four and beyond.
It's a long way off.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm trying to say.
So far behind, not just in current terms. I mean, with the way Villa, look at Villa, and me and Chris say about Villa all the time. Like, there it is, clear as day, isn't it? They got relegated, they rebuilt it, and look at them now. They're eclipsing Man United. You know, it's been run so well, and as Chris said week before, it's the style of play. It's so easy on the eye. I know you've got to have a bit of defensive side to your game, but when they go forward, they're incredible to watch. And I think that's what United fans are looking at. They're looking at it and thinking, look, there's Villa above us. Newcastle, although they've slipped over the last couple of weeks, they've dropped quite a bit, haven't they? they're behind. They're behind after so many years of success with one man who was there 27 years.
Just shows you how good he was, Alex Ferguson, though, doesn't it? You know, and like we said about this. Sorry, Mike. I know you want to say something. I'll shut my mouth in a minute. We said this last week, Stuart. You know, Alex Ferguson's last season at United, and you look at the team. You know, Darren Gibson, Tom Keverley. I know they came to us eventually, but you know, you look at that. That was far beyond the Paul Scholes, the Ryan Giggs, Roy Keanes, the Gary Nevilles. You know, he didn't have a massive selection of fantastic players at United in his last season, but he still won the league. He still won it. But I got to say this, and I say this from our own experience, is the Glazers situation, is everything like that in the background is what's caused United's downfall. The best teams in the league are run perfectly inside and out. And if you're not run perfectly inside and out, and I mean, Stuart most definitely can allude to what happens to a team, because it's happening to us. It's obviously definitely happening to United. If you're not perfectly run, this is what's causing clubs to have downfalls, because you haven't got the consistency of the likes of what City have, Liverpool have, what Arsenal have, and there's no flow anymore. It's you don't know whether you're going tomorrow or the next day.
What do you think, Mike, with United, and in terms of how long will he get? In terms of if it is him that's coming in,
if they bring him in, they're going to give him the full rest of the season. I think they're not going to panic, are they? But I think they'll. Rude's only just settled in now. I would suggest that it would be part of the plan to keep him involved as a second and have him and build him up. But I was always thinking that at some point Steven Gerrard might come in at Liverpool. Like you were saying about Ferguson. Well, exactly. I saw Chris's face then. I don't think he's quite ready yet. But I think at some point, they'll probably have him manage Liverpool if he makes it as a manager. He had time at Rangers, but his time at Aston Villa was a bit sketchy, wasn't it? So but things like that the fans do like it, and if they've got the skills, then they get involved. But it doesn't always happen, does it? So we'll have to see.
We'll see with Man United then going forward what will happen again. He's going to have to bring his players in as well. Ugarte obviously left Sporting recently to go there, so he's already there. I wonder if someone like Gyökeres will come. He obviously signed him from Coventry. He's been scoring a lot of goals there, so it'll be interesting to see what he does with the players he's got now, and then leading into the next window and the summer window.
How much is he going to have to spend there, Stuart? Though
this is it.
It's just a consistent downward spiral, isn't it?
Ten Hag's had over 600 million. This is the gripe of a lot of the fans. And the overpaying for players, like we've spoken about previously, what they've signed, big money, and it just hasn't come to pass for them, has it at all? But we'll see with Man United. And just before we close out, we've got Carabao Cup action tonight. So obviously, I'm going to select Tottenham versus Man City first, because that's obviously the biggest game out of the 6. Mike, a prediction from you as City go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this evening, and Tottenham under Ange have won the last 2 games against City at home going into this game.
Really interesting fixture, because Tottenham have been excellent at home. I watched them the other day, and it was when they were, what was it, 4-1 they won. They really drew away. It was 1-1 at one point, and then they drew away from it. But I think you can never deny City, can you? But it's going to be an interesting one. That I'm going to go for a City 2-1 win in that one.
Chris, what do you reckon tonight?
I always think, we're saying about Ange, and I mean, we talk about him as much as we can, obviously, when we're speaking about Tottenham, and now John has when John's coming for me. But let's put that aside. Tottenham actually have a very good record against City at home. And I think over the years, Tottenham have been quite a bogey team for Man City, haven't they? And they've beaten them quite a considerable amount of times. Even with Pep, they've beaten them. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Spurs, mate. Wow.
And again, when it works for Ange, the attacking, the high line, and the press, it goes fantastically well, doesn't it? Palace, as I was saying earlier to Mike, they played to a system. Glasner set that system up beforehand, and he said from the second minute, that plan worked. And Tottenham obviously had loads of possession but Palace are quite happy to counter-attack with that high line, which a lot of teams have done against Spurs. But Spurs have looked fantastic in games as well. They really, really have. I've got to be fair to them. But again, I've just got City edging it tonight. I just think they're going to come away with it. Although they only beat Southampton 1-0 on the weekend, didn't they? I think everyone thought that was going to be a rout. Like City were going to absolutely obliterate them. But I've got City just coming through this one tonight. I think that's what's going to happen there. But again, like Mike was saying off camera and earlier on, it's who will get rested, who will get played. Will they go relatively strong, these two tonight? Because they've got Champions League next week and Europa League, haven't they?
Squad rotation could play a big part in these games tonight. We'll have to see.
But Mike, City's squad rotation is probably better than half the teams that rotate theirs or even have their first teams.
What they've got, yeah.
You know what I mean?
On the old team.
Mike, we've obviously got to go to the top fixture there, mate, because it's your Liverpool going away to the Amex tonight against Brighton, who've had a fantastic start. You've had a brilliant start as well. This is going to be fantastic. 7:30 kickoff at the Amex. Mike, your prediction tonight for this one, please, mate.
Yeah, could be a tough one for us, but it'll all depend on squad rotation, I think. But I think if we play like we have been, we can edge Brighton. But they've looked marvellous this season themselves. I'm going to go for. I'm going to be positive and go for a 2-0 Liverpool win away from home.
And Chris, what do you reckon with this one at the Amex tonight? It's going to be a tight affair, I think.
I think Brighton have only lost one game this season as well, haven't they? And they came to Goodison first game in this season, and absolutely ripped us apart. It'd be difficult for Liverpool, but I think on the weekend it showed you how good Slot's got Liverpool going, and I was very unsure when Klopp left, but I'm really there's a lot of promise with their Slot in Liverpool, so I'm going to agree with Mike. I think Liverpool will win this one 2-0.
I've got 2-1 on that one to Liverpool. I think they've been good. I'd tell you what, as well, they've been good at the back, Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
They've been solid. I might be doing them a disservice saying they're going to concede, but Danny Welbeck is in form. Of course, he's been absolutely brilliant. He's been fantastic for him, rolling back the years, But he was in and out. He was in and out of Man United, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He never really had he was never the first name on the team sheet, but he scored goals there. But Danny Welbeck's been very dangerous. And obviously, there's no João Pedro at the moment. He's still out. I know Evan Ferguson came on as well. He scored a goal on the weekend. But I've just got Liverpool getting over the line, I reckon, 2-1. And
Brighton's got goals in them on occasions, though. It's just, I honestly think it's all going to come down to if they rest major players, both teams, because we'll play each other again on Saturday in the league. So it's going to be how much they want this cup, and it's that'll tell as soon as you see the team sheets, I reckon.
Are you home or away against them in the second game this week?
I feel like we're home on Saturday, aren't we?
I think they'll go for this because I don't think Brighton are in Europe, are they?
No, they've got no distraction this year, which they did have last year. They were trying to balance Europe as well, weren't they? So
they'll go for this one. I think Mike. I think they'll put.
We're all going for a Liverpool win on that one, and then a repeat of the weekend's game, but it's up in Newcastle. It's funny how this is happening with Mike saying Liverpool Brighton on the weekend as well. Newcastle Chelsea, of course. Chelsea won 2-1 on the weekend. Just got over the line, didn't they, with that one? But prediction, Mike. Newcastle Chelsea.
Chelsea have looked very good recently. I feel they've really come into their own, and Newcastle have not looked as good as I've seen them in the past. But it could be an interesting one. I feel like at home it could just they might just have a chance. I'm just going to say that I think Newcastle might just pip them this time and get a bit of a surprise victory there. So I would say 1-0 to Newcastle.
Chris?
I'm going to go opposite. I obviously agree with Mike saying, Enzo's got Chelsea ticking now. He's got the players he wants in the positions. He's got rid of the players he doesn't want. But like your City, Chelsea can rest their first team and still have a fantastic second string squad, especially the amount of players they've bought. I think this will go to penalties.
You've just picked me. You picked me to that.
Oh, did I? I'm going 1-1.
All right.
I think,
right, okay.
Chelsea will beat them on penalties.
I had 2-2 in my head and go into penalties, believe it or not, and then for Chelsea to go through. But again, I wouldn't write Newcastle off and go in that they're going to go to penalties and lose it. But Isak, he came back from injury, scored on the weekend. He's integral to them at the top. He's a fantastic player. I've heard there's been witterings that he could be going back to Spain. I mean, they're going to want to keep hold of him, aren't they, whatever happens. But again, with Isak, he is injury prone. He's had a lot of injuries. They had this with Callum Wilson prior, didn't they? Callum Wilson's always been injury prone when he was at Bournemouth. But a fit Isak is as good as anyone, I think, in front of goal. He's the talisman, isn't he, when he plays?
Unstoppable, Stuart. And you just think that, Dortmund had this player, a young lad, and he got passed around, didn't he? He ended up going to Spain, settled in Spain, did really, really well. I think if anyone comes in for Isak in January or in the summer, they're gonna have to pay as close to 100 million, if not more.
And moving on, I'm going to go with Man United. Leicester, of course, we're talking about United. Van Nistelrooy in caretaker charge tonight against Leicester. Leicester haven't been going too bad, actually. I think they beat Southampton in the week before. But obviously they lost on was it Friday night to Forest? They lost 3-1 in the end, didn't they? But yeah, big game at Old Trafford tonight. Mike, prediction for United City, please, sir.
I think 1-0. I think Nistelrooy will get him into action this week and try and appease the fans a bit.
Chris, what you going with on this one, mate?
Nistelrooy has just ruined it for me now. I think, obviously, with Ruud being in charge, there'll be a lift, won't there? We've all seen it before when players that, have taken over, and I've said this about Dunk. I think United will run riot today, and I think it'll be probably that 3-1 maybe to United.
Okay, I'm going to go with 2-0.
He's always got a goal in him, hasn't
he? He'll get the one goal for Leicester. I'm
going to go for 2-0. I'm going to go. I think he may very well start Xerxes ahead of Højlund, but I think that's where they went wrong in the previous couple of games. I think Højlund, I would start Højlund ahead of Xerxes, but there might be rotation, of course, they're probably gonna rotate, and he'll have his ideas, won't he? I'm sure he'll put the 11 out that he thinks. It might not necessarily be what Ten Hag was putting out, but yeah, I've got United on that one, and then we've got Preston, Arsenal. We're talking about rotation. Surely Arsenal are going to be, heavily changed for this one. No disrespect to Preston being in the Championship, but yeah, if any game is going to be rotation with a squad and an 11, it's going to be Arsenal. Mike, Preston, Arsenal, prediction, please.
You always have a surprise in the cup, but I think Arsenal will just be too dominant for them. So I'm just going to say Arsenal 2-0.
And Chris?
Yeah, I'm with Mike there. As much as we'd like to see a shocker, especially if it's against one of the other top four, don't we? Especially when it's not against our own clubs. But we're out of the cup anyway, so it don't matter. But I'd love to see Preston win, but Arsenal are in such fine form, and I think there'll be a breeze for these tonight.
Just got a comment from Lewis Young in relation to United and Leicester. He's going 2-0 Man United. So thanks for your prediction there, Lewis.
Oh, he asked about progress as well earlier, didn't he?
There we go. I'll pull that up actually. Scotland. There you go, Mad Bug.
Yeah, well, there was definitely interest in heading up to Scotland at one point last year, and then dates are getting set for next year at the moment, so we'll have to see. There's a good possibility, that progress at some point will be up in Glasgow, remember, but you've already got some great wrestling promotions up there as well, obviously ICW, and a couple of others up in Kilmarnock as well that we know some of the gang from. So, best of luck to everyone up there, and we'll definitely do our best to pop up at some point. We did Newcastle last year, so we almost got up there, gang. We're in Manchester on the 17th of November, back in London on the 24th, and dates for next year should be available very soon, so keep your eyes peeled. And hopefully Lewis will get up to Scotland and see you.
Yeah, make the bow up in Scotland. That'd be fantastic for the Scottish contingent up there. And people that want to travel up to Scotland, have a little holiday and go and watch progress up there. Yeah, that'd be brilliant. And the final game, just before we close out, just so we've covered all six tonight, is Aston Villa and Palace. Obviously, Villa going fantastically well. Palace with a fantastic win against Tottenham on the weekend. They needed it. They'd drawn a lot of games and lost the rest. Glasner got a fantastic win. Mike, what we going with? Villa
interesting one, Stu. Could be both teams could be good. I think Villa might just edge it. It could end up being another penalty shootout though. But I'm going to go for Villa 2-1.
Chris,
I'm going to go with Palace, only because what we did to Villa in the same cup last year, and Villa were going great guns when we played them. And don't forget, they beat us early on in the season when we played them. I think it was there was a third round we played Villa, wasn't it? And we beat them 2-0. That was 2-0, wasn't it? I think Palace. I think Palace. Yeah, I think Emery's going to change the team a bit because with, as you say, Champions League's back next week, and I think at the moment that'll be a priority, won't it? And they're doing really well at the moment. You know, they're on top of the league, so yeah, I'm going Palace. I think Palace could pinch this 2-1.
My thinking with this is, will John Duran start, or will he bring him off the bench because he's been so impactful off the bench? Start Ollie Watkins, maybe, or he might rest him. It's a tricky one. I think John Duran will go up front and he'll start the game. I just think Villa, and I think just two. I'll go 2-1. That's no disrespect to Palace, and sure, you know, Emery's going to want to be fighting on all fronts, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He won't be taking his eye off the ball with this. He might make changes, but you know, he's going to want a cup. He's going to want silverware, isn't he?
Of course he is, yeah.
So yeah, thank you for the predictions, lads, and it's going to be a good night. Some fantastic ties in the Carabao Cup, and 5 from 7:30. And then, obviously, the main game is Tottenham and Man City at 8:15 tonight. All available on Sky Sports Plus, and obviously Sky Sports main event, Sky Sports Football as well tonight for them. Mike, before you go, just some plugs for Progress Wrestling and Wrestle Tours, of course. We can't forget about Progress Wrestling and Wrestle Tours.
Of course, yeah. Well, Wrestle Tours still got our last-minute packages available for WrestleMania 41. Looking forward to welcoming anyone who's joining us in Las Vegas. Of course, Progress Wrestling, I've got the dates just mentioned. So Manchester at the O2 Ritz on the 17th of November. Looking forward to being back up in Manchester. And obviously Luke Jacobs is going to be there as well, who's the Progress champion from Manchester. And he was joined back as the Young Guns back at Progress just the other week. And then, of course, we've got the show on the 24th. Massive show for us, our super show. So, looking forward to that on the 24th of November. And then the week after that, we've got TNT Extreme Wrestling as well on the 30th of November. So, a few nice photos there from Progress, Stu. That was Cara at the ballroom there last week. Cara Noir versus Kenta. What a match that was.
And then another one there, obviously. There you go. Yeah, Kenta and Cara Noir in action. Good shot, that, Mike.
That's it. That balcony shot there with Kenta dropping that dropkick right in Cara Noir's face. And he was brutal. Again, Kenta at the weekend. And, very interesting matchup there. You'll have to watch it back. It's available on Triller. And it'll be on demand Progress Plus from Friday. Lewis Young obviously wants to go to WrestleMania 41. Get involved, Lewis. We've got very limited bar stools left available. Get your flights booked. Get yourself over there. Have an amazing time for WrestleMania 41 in Vegas.
Get it booked, Lewis. I'm telling you now, you will not regret going over to there. You know, Mike has gone for years before. I've been. I know full well what it's about. When you get over there, there's just nothing like it. And 2 nights these days. Do you know what I mean? It used to be you'd be there 6-7 hours over one night. Obviously now, and they're doing it with the other pay-per-views as well, aren't they? They're doing it over 2 nights for the big ones. So you get it booked, Lewis. You'll have Mike showing you around Vegas as well, which he loves doing with all the guys that book on there. So get it done, mate. Get it done.
You like National Lampoon, Stuart?
Yeah, National Lampoons. Yeah, absolutely. No AM go to Vegas. Oh no, I'm going to Vegas. Right, okay.
He's going.
Okay. There you go. He's done.
We'll see you there.
He's there. He's there. So fantastic. Chris, just before we go, just obviously our sponsors, Sports Social Podcast Network, give them the rub. Of course, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Sports Social, as we say this every week when we give this rub at the end of our show, they are partnering. Then it says 500 here, but it's obviously a lot more, and there's more podcasts every week that are getting signed up by Sports Social. It's not just people like us, just famous people now have got podcasts on Sports Social. You can go on their website.
You two are famous.
Hey.
Cheers, Mike. we got our cheerleader, Chris.
Yes, Mike, you can come back every time, Mike, and just say that one word every time.
Give me some pom-poms next time. Absolutely. No, thank you, Mike. No, we appreciate that. Sorry,
But
Chris.
yeah, you've got famous athletes who've been in the game, are talking about their own podcasts, from cricket to football to rugby and beyond. Sports Social are fantastic. They look after every podcast, and they have got a lot of podcasts to look after, but they are there for everybody.
If you've got a podcast as well and you're looking to join on, get in touch with them. If you want to get in touch with us, we can point you in the right direction with the people that deal with all the stuff that way. They're great. They're absolutely fantastic. We know other podcasts, obviously, Unholy Trinity, Everton podcast. Fantastic what they do. But yeah, they're so supportive. They'll put clips up and stuff like that. And you can get hold of people there, can't you, online, Chris, all the time, up via email.
And they're very quick.
Media.
Very quick at replying, very quick at answering your questions. And as you say about Unholy, they're very good at trying to get people who are on their platform to connect, who are in the same sports as well. Just to mix up and have us on different shows that they have that's on their platform, and it's good that way. And they're very all for that. But moving on with that, our spots, Stuart, we are on YouTube. Football Now and Then. We are on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. X sounds like sort of porno, so I'll go with Twitter. You can find us on there at Footy Now and Then. You can find us on Instagram at Football Now and Then. You can find us on Facebook at Football Now and Then, and you can find us on TikTok as well. Stuart sets up and posts as many clips as we can. We get a good response there, so thank you very much for everyone who's watching our videos. And you can find us in all places for audio. If you're walking, going to work, on the bus, or you're sick and tired of watching football itself, you just want to hear two idiots go and ramble on a load of crap, we're there for you. Just click and go.
Absolutely, yeah, we are everywhere. The clips are doing well too. They are doing very well. We've had some responses, Chris. Some positive, some negative, when we've spoken about their clubs, but you're going to get that, and that's fine.
I haven't got their own opinion.
That's what it's all about. Again, we don't follow the clubs like they do when it's your own club. You can have you're passionate, aren't you? You're passionate about it. But yeah, no, thank you so much, Mike, Mr. Progress Wrestling, of course. Thank you so much for coming on. And as Mike said, if you're interested in WrestleMania next year in Vegas, there are still some spots left, aren't there, Mike?
Last few, we're getting there. Get involved, don't miss out. And as always, been a pleasure to join you guys. Best of luck with everything, and hopefully catch up with you both soon.
Definitely.
This has been episode 32 with Liverpool fan Mike, Angus, and Chris came in for his cameo and obviously got on this day in football done and dusted. It took the pressure off me, Chris, you coming in when you did. You gave it the rub, you made it good, mate. So yeah, no pressure on me with that one.
You picked this one. At least it wasn't Everton related this time.
No, it was getting to a point where it was Everton, and it was like, crikey. So yeah, no, a good one. Obviously, football legend that Maradona was, of course, as we spoke about earlier. So, yeah, fantastic. Thank you for the comments, guys. And great news, obviously, with Lewis going to Vegas for WrestleMania. And we will see you very, very soon for episode 33.
Ciao.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.
I can take this off now.